This is Bitcoin USD on BitMEX. This is the weekly chart. Let's have a look at it. There are just two things plotted on this chart. It's the dynamic support resistance, the weekly dynamic support resistance, which is this line that I'm following, and we can see the pivots, the yearly pivots. That's the yearly pivot, that's the yearly support one, that's the yearly R1, resistance R2, R3, etc. And we can see how and what a struggle the last weeks have been. Just here, how price has been checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks have been checking this dynamic support resistance, the weekly one, fell below it, all hell was about to break loose, and then last week climbed back above it, and this week doing some wonders, opening the week with a nice green candle, and not only conquering this dynamic support resistance, leaving it behind, also it looks like it wants to close above the R1, the R1 pivot level, which is bullish, plain and simple. Now let's plot the cardinal support on this chart, and the cardinal support is this horizontal support which is played when at the beginning of the year, when price went to the R1, then retraced, checked this level, and now we've seen how this horizontal support has been working fantastically. What I like to show on this weekly chart is how fantastically RSI divergence on the higher time frames can work with pivots, with the yearly pivots, with a higher time frame pivots as well. So let's plot the RSI. And I usually don't look at all at oscillators. They really don't interest me. What interests me is price movement, price action, what I'm seeing on the chart itself with some indicators. And oscillators are something that you always have to take with a big grain of salt. So, but on the higher time frames, they can work really amazing. Have a look at this. So we have here price is making high, and then another high on the chart, a higher high, but on the RSI it's making a lower high, and then price even making another higher high, and on the RSI weekly chart it is making even a lower high. So this is a fine example how to combine on the highest time frame a divergence between RSI and what price is telling you. So price is making lower highs, and you can already see that this movement here on the R3, how price is struggling here, it is losing its power, and the touch here, this touch on the R3 should have been the place to sell, especially as RSI is signaling such a big divergence between price and the relative strength index. So that's a wonderful example of how you can use a divergence, an RSI divergence from price with a level pivot in order to time your exit. But it's very hard to do. It's not that easy at all to do. So let's move on. Let's go to the daily. I'm gonna get out of the RSI and move to the daily. And on the daily we can see how effectively this cardinal support has played out. And let me just show you how many times this was tested. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's a lot of tests that this level has endured, but now it has shown and demonstrated its strength, and this is why it was a cardinal support, because if we it would have broken, all hell could have broken loose. And of course, no one's to say that this is still not possible. This can happen. But what price has signaled now is something else, is a bullish signal. But before we go into this, get rid of those and also have a look at another signal. And first let's plot the yearly pivots and this channel. And you can see how price has been in this channel for, yes, 65 days. 65 days that it's been chopping with direction down on this channel, but this whole time this cardinal support has held its grounds. And the last test, which was here, which was already giving us an indication that something's going to change. And why was that? Because even though those two candles entered for the first time into the cardinal support, full-bodied candles, you can see all the tests before were rejected on the cardinal support or way above it with big wicks. This time bears couldn't even reach the S1. This is the monthly S1, which is plotted on the daily chart, and this showed also, you could have seen it on the 4-hour chart, on the weekly pivots. This showed that the bears lacked the strength, lacked the ammunition to push price further, and bulls were smelling this immediately and followed with a candle the next day, which just deleted all those 2 days and showed strength. And since then there was a bit of hesitation here, but again determined. And then 2 days ago price finally broke out of the channel, but it also broke here before. So this was a signal. Also on the 4 hours it was a signal, and I will show it immediately. But the bigger signal was here on the monthly pivot. And the moment that price closed above this monthly pivot, you can see how bulls are following up once again with a lot of ammunition and pushing price higher, and bears are just hiding under a rock. So now not only price have broken here above the monthly pivot, it also managed today to break above the yearly R1, to return to a higher degree of bullish territory, because as long as price is above the yearly pivot here, then price is in bullish territory. But the moment that price manages to conquer once again the yearly pivot, which is here and here today, that's actually 3 straight signals with 3 green candles that are demonstrating bullishness. So we have a break above the channel, at last price is free. We had even the first signal was here when bears were not able to push price all the way to the S1 and bulls to control, and then the break above the channel, and then a break above the pivot, and now today we are breaking above the yearly R1. Now there is a possibility that this candle today would actually close below the R1, and we will see maybe something in the terms of this price going to test once again the monthly pivot and maybe zigzagging a bit and then breaking with more strength above the yearly R1. But maybe today is just enough and we will see price continuing to do something in the terms of this, maybe reaching out to the monthly R1, maybe testing once again the yearly R1 and continuing to go further on. That's 2 scenarios out of an endless amount of scenarios, but I think that they are likely, and there's a good chance of seeing them playing out. That's what's happening currently on the daily. Let's go a bit into the lower time frames and see what's happening there. Let's go to the 4 hours, get rid of this, and go inside the 4 hours and see what's happening on the 4 hours. So in the 4 hours we can see all of this playing out even much clearly. We had the break, we opened the wick above the pivot, this is the weekly pivot here, we opened the wick, price has broken above the weekly R1 and above the yearly R1. I want to remind you this yellow line is the yearly R1, wicked all the way up to the weekly R2, and now price is simply seems to be flagging, making a bullish flag, but we'll have to wait and see if this plays out. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, please like, please follow, please come back for more. I'm hoping to wake up this channel for much more analysis, not only crypto but some other assets and assets classes. So see you soon.